Hi, my fourth grade friends. I miss you, and here we are. Staying healthy, and I hope you're listening to your parents and doing the stuff your teachers are sending you. But I did want to send you some energy demonstrations I get. This first one, what we need to know and what we're learning about is we need to know, that energy can be converted or changed from one form to another. So what that means is we could take chemical energy and it can be turned into electrical energy. That's what happens with batteries. Or we could take electrical energy and it could turn into light energy or motion, light or energy of motion, or sound energy. So first thing you need to know is that energy is the ability to do work. Within energy, there's potential energy. Potential energy is stored energy. So if you have a ball on the top of a hill, that ball has potential energy. It's just sitting there waiting to be moved, waiting to do work or do something. It's just sitting there and it's stored. It's not doing anything yet, but as soon as it gets pushed and it starts rolling down the hill and it starts moving, then it has kinetic energy, which is energy of movement, okay? So we have potential energy, which is stored energy. Kinetic energy is energy of movement. Energy in general is just the ability to do work. So the way that we're going to show you guys this is we are going to make some circuits using batteries, and we're gonna change the chemical energy from a battery into light energy, into energy of movement, and into sound energy. So we're going to show you some different types of circuits with that too. So first thing we need to know, what does it take to make a complete circuit? Okay, so for a complete circuit, you need a power source. That power source could be an outlet in the wall. It could be a battery. It could be a generator. It could be solar power, but you need something that's going to create that energy for you. So that's the first thing you need to make a complete circuit. The second thing you need is you need a pathway, because in a battery, the way that a battery works is you have a negative end, that's the flat end, and you have the positive end, okay? In the battery, there's chemicals, and these chemicals are stored and they're creating energy in there. Just like with magnets, there's a negative end and a positive end, or like, you know, the North Pole and the South Pole, but a negative end and a positive end. Now, with atoms, you have the nucleus and you have the protons and neutrons on the inside, and you have the electrons that are on the outside. Those electrons can get ripped off and they can move. So in a battery, you've got a negative charge and a positive charge. Well, opposites attract. So what happens is if you put the negative end of a battery to the positive end of a battery, okay, those negative electrons will jump to the positive end. And that's how the electrons move, and that's what causes the electricity. So if you were to take and you give those electrons a pathway for them to be able to get from the negative end of the battery to the positive end of the battery, those electrons will go shooting through that wire, because inside of the wire is, or inside of these, it's covered in plastic, but inside there's wire that allows the electrons to flow through. So what we need to do is we need to make a pathway for those electrons to travel, and as those electrons travel, that will end up making the light go on, or the motor move, or the buzzer make noise. So we have our batteries that we're using today. That's going to be a power source. We have a pathway. Our pathway is going to be our wires, but your pathway can be any kind of a conductor. So a conductor is something that allows those electrons to flow through. So it could be our wires, it could be paper clips, but anything that's kind of a metal substance that would allow the electrons to flow through it. The third thing we need is a load or a user. So if I were to take this and I just go like this. I'm not really touching the metal, I'm touching the plastic, but if I touched the metal to the metal, if I were to go like this, what this would do is this would create a short circuit if the metal was touching, okay? And what it would do is the electrons would be flying and flying and flying and flying, but they wouldn't have anything to do the work. They wouldn't be using those electrons or using that electricity. So when that happens, it would create a short circuit. And if we were in the lab, we would be discussing safety, and I would be saying we really can't do this because if you leave a short circuit for too long, the battery gets really hot and it's not good. Could start a fire, okay? So I'm not making short circuits. So 3 things we need to make a complete circuit: a power source, a pathway, and a load or a user. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we are going to make some circuit. All right, so here we are. We've got our power source. The power source for us today is our batteries. Our pathway is our wires. And our users, we're gonna have light bulbs. This is a buzzer, and this is a motor, okay? So first thing we need to do is when you set up your batteries, you have to make sure that your batteries, the positive end on these is the gold end, because that's the side on a battery. The positive end has the little bump, and the negative end has the flat side. So what you need to make sure first is that you set up your positive end, your negative end to a positive end, because just like in magnets, opposites attract. So if you put them like this, the electrons cannot flow. They will repel, okay? If you put them like this, they will repel. If you put them like this, the electrons will jump from negative to positive, negative to positive, negative, and then we need a pathway for them to go around. So I'm gonna take my wires and I'm gonna connect it to the end here. On the end of these are metal, so it allows the electrons to flow through. They're just battery holders. So I'm gonna connect it on this end, and I'm gonna connect it on this end, okay? Now the first thing we'll do is we will use a light. So right now, we have chemical energy that's going to convert to electrical energy. Once I give these electrons a pathway, the electrons are gonna flow and flow and flow and flow. As they go through the light bulb, they will light up the light bulb. The electricity will go through, okay? So if I go like this, and I go like this, now we have a complete circuit where the electrons are flowing through, they're going through the light bulb, and they're gonna go through, and they keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. This is a closed circuit. The electrons are allowed to flow, it's actually doing work. We've got our power source, our pathway, and our user, or our load. If I disconnect this, now there's a break in our circuit, and the electrons can no longer flow. If I take it and I close it back again, now we have a complete circuit. So that's one. So now we have chemical energy converting to electrical energy converting to light energy. So if I take this out, now my circuit doesn't work anymore. There's nothing that's doing the work. The next thing I could do is I could take my motor, okay? So if I take this and I'm gonna connect it to the little metal ends here, if I put it to the plastic, it won't work. Plastic is an insulator. It won't let the electrons flow. So if I take this and I go like this, then it makes my motor spin, and the little foam pieces are now spinning. If I disconnect my batteries, now my circuit is not complete. The motor stops moving because those electrons are not traveling through a complete circuit anymore. If I close them, it allows the batteries to convert from from chemical energy to electrical energy to energy of motion. Okay, there's that one. We could also take our chemical energy, convert it to electrical energy, and make it turn into energy, to sound energy. So now it's making a very annoying sound. So chemical energy, electrical energy, sound energy. Ooh, okay, I'm done with that one. Okay, so that is a complete circuit. We showed that electrical energy can turn into chemical energy can turn into electrical energy, can turn into light energy, energy of motion, or energy of sound. Now, this would be called a simple circuit, okay? We have one pathway where things can move. We could change this and turn it into a parallel circuit. If I take this one right now and I disconnect it, everything stops, right? There's no way for those electrons to travel. Now there's no way. The electrons stop and they can't keep traveling. But if I can make a parallel circuit where there's two pathways. So I have my energy source. I'm going to use pennies as my conductors to connect my pathways, my wires. So if I take and I go like this, okay, the electrons can travel through the penny. Penny's a metal, the electrons can travel through it. And I'm going to take and go like this, okay, then I'm going to go like this. Okay, so now what I could do is I can take, so right now, this is one simple circuit. If I take and I connect these, this would be called a parallel circuit. So what happens is the electrons can go here. Okay, they get up to here. They can still travel up this way and come all the way around, or they can come this way and come around here. So right now, if I were to disconnect one part of this, my circuit would still be complete and part of them would still work. If I disconnect this one, that still works because the electrons can go this way. If I connect this one back, and disconnect this one, this still works, okay? Now watch this light when I connect this one, okay? Watch what happens. Maybe I need to turn the lights off. Could you see that this light gets brighter when I disconnect this? I don't think you can see that. Maybe we'll try it on that one. Oh, did you see that one? Okay, can you see that this gets brighter when I disconnect this one? Because right now, all of the electrons are split between both of the light bulbs. If I disconnect one, all of those electrons go to the other light bulb. So that allows it to be brighter, okay? So this right now is a parallel circuit because there's two pathways. I could also create a circuit that is just, it's called a series circuit. So I could take my light bulbs and go like this. Okay, right now, there's just one pathway. Okay, so if you look, there's one pathway. Both of these light bulbs are dimmer because the electrons are being shared. But look at what happens if I disconnect one. Look at this one if I disconnect this one. Did you see how it turned off? If I disconnect anything in the pathway here, it breaks the path of those electrons and they cannot keep traveling. So hopefully you understand the things that we need to make a circuit. You need a power source. Does not have to be a battery, light switch, could be anything. Anything that will build up electricity. You need a pathway for those electrons to travel, and you need a user. Otherwise, you end up creating a short circuit. And really important is the fact that energy can be converted from one form to another. The ones I showed you were not just the only ones. The next time, I think we're going to review some other stuff, and then I'll figure that out and come back to you. I miss you guys. I hope you're doing well. Be good. Hopefully I see you soon. Bye.